So I recently watched S-Line as of recording this, and I need someone to talk to, not about the plot, but about why on earth my man is in it. You know those actors who are undeniably talented, but for some reason they just don't get the recognition they deserve? The ones you root for in everything they do, even if the project itself isn't all that great? Those are the actors that I want to talk about today. I'll be mentioning a few actors I love, and just for fun, I'll suggest the types of roles that I think they'd absolutely thrive in. So every actor on this list is talented in their own right, and some, if not all actors on this list are recognizable. They're not super underrated, but underrated, maybe even slightly underrated. I'm not claiming to know better, I don't have a deep grasp on the intricacies of the K-drama industry, and of course the agencies know best. So yes, this video is very much biased. The roles I'll be suggesting aren't just ones I believe they could excel in, but also roles I personally want to see them in. So I do have a very specific taste. You'll notice a pattern in the kinds of roles I'll be suggesting. My taste in K-dramas leans heavily towards romance. I love anything and everything slow burn. Rom-coms are great, but to be more specific, I have a deep love for office dramas. I will never get tired of this setting. Period dramas are a close second, followed by a really good revenge story. When it comes to tone and mood, my favorite style is everything Park Min-young has starred in. Light, warm, funny, with just enough seriousness and reflection. That's my sweet spot. That said, I also enjoy darker stories and I'm not opposed to sad endings. For me, the most important part is the journey. I want something heart-wrenching. I want something that makes me blush for hours straight. The ending doesn't matter as much as long as it makes sense for the story. Of course, some of my opinions may be unpopular and that's okay. Feel free to agree or disagree, but please keep it respectful. And one quick apology in advance, if I mispronounce any names, forgive me. And to kick off this video, we shall start with the man that inspired it, Lee Soo Hyuk. This man not only serves face, but he is so talented. I find him to be a versatile actor, and I've enjoyed most of the characters he plays. He tends to go for darker, mature, intense, and mysterious roles. He can be a villain, he's amazing at brooding, and he picks dramas with a serious tone. S-Line, Doom at Your Service, The Scholar Who Walks the Night, Queen Wu, and he is amazing in all of them. My issue is, I tend not to like the scripts he picks the majority of the time when he is the main lead. Evidence, S-Line, and Born Again. S-Line had me confused by the second episode actually. After the second episode, Born Again had an interesting concept, but I wasn't the biggest fan of its execution. Same with S-Line. Where the script lost me was when the female lead confessed first. After that, the pacing felt rushed. I'm not sure if it was her acting or just the writing, but when she confessed, I was a bit confused about how the romance had progressed to that point. Everything that followed felt abrupt, and I couldn't quite grasp why things were happening the way they were happening. I have watched Born Again thrice, and I cannot remember anything that happens in that K-drama. But given with that drama he was still upcoming, and you might be wondering, why am I talking about a K-drama that came out decades ago? I'm in a K-drama slump, and this is a K-drama that I've recently watched. The way I've been so frustrated by the K-dramas that have been coming out this year. I was planning on giving a small review on S-Line, but then I think it's just self-explanatory if you watched it. It's bad. Because what is that ending? Personally, whoever is picking his scripts isn't doing him justice. Honestly, it feels like it should be easy to find roles that suit him. Jaded detective, jaded lover, cold CEO, an assassin, awkward introvert, or an ambiguous villain. He has the range. I expect to see this man everywhere, honestly. But despite how clear it is that he thrives in darker, more intense roles, I actually believe he could shine just as much, if not more, in leading roles with a soft center. I fell in love with his acting in Doom at Your Service. His subplot was so compelling, I wouldn't have minded if it had been expanded into a full K-drama on its own. To me, his acting really shines when he's allowed to be soft or even funny. There's a tenderness he brings to those roles that make him stand out to me. I think he would excel in ambiguous characters, ones who are psychologically complex or darkly nuanced, but with softness at their core. Instead of diving all the way into the dark, I'd love to see him meet us in the middle. For instance, I'd love to see him play a CEO, not necessarily a cold one, but someone emotionally closed off. Specifically, I'd love to see him act alongside Seo Ye-ji. In my opinion, they both gravitate towards similar drama styles. It's just that one of them tends to land better scripts. I think they'd have amazing chemistry. I'd love for both of their characters to be a bit toxic, but still fundamentally good people. I'd also love to see him reunite with Lee Hee. They were great together on screen, but this time, I want Lee Hee to play a colder, meaner character. I want a grump x grump dynamic. He might not like office dramas, and that's okay, but I'd still love to see him in one. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a sweet role, playing someone who simply doesn't know how to open up to others. He'd absolutely nail it. A one-sided love story would also suit him too. Next up on the list is Lee Hee, which is wild. I know, she's successful. Actually, everyone on this list is successful. When it comes to Lee Hee, she doesn't really have any missteps in my eyes. I don't find her underrated either. She's clearly popular, but she doesn't have that many dramas. The ones she does take on are amazing, but I rarely get to see her, if that makes any sense. Even when she's the main lead, she sometimes feels more like a guest role. I like the scripts she chooses, even though they're often short and fall into genres that aren't really my cup of tea. Still, there are specific roles I'd love to see her in, especially those where she plays colder characters or leans into a playful, flirtatious type of energy. I'd also love to see her in more dramas with a soft emotional center, and ideally with more screen time. I tend to miss her a lot. Next up is Bang Sang-hoon. This actor has been on my radar for a long time, but I rarely think about him and I don't see many people talk about him either. Yet somehow it feels like everyone knows who he is. I was reminded of him while watching My Perfect Revenge, and I found myself wondering why I don't see more of him. He was actually one of the very first K-drama actors I was introduced to when I started watching K-dramas around 2016. I find him genuinely charming. He often gravitates towards romantic melodramas and romantic comedies, and he's usually playing high-status characters. More often than not, he's a CEO. His roles tend to have a light-hearted and whimsical tone, and he plays them well. I really enjoy the kind of characters he chooses, but despite liking the roles he takes on, I rarely connect with the scripts he picks. My Perfect Revenge is one of the few dramas of his that I actually like. Is it perfect? From a critical standpoint, the writing could be stronger and the directing could have been more creative. That said, I still enjoyed it. It's just a bit too predictable. As for roles I'd love to see him in, okay, he's already in the types of roles I typically enjoy, but I'd love to see him take on a darker romantic lead. He tends to go for characters that are too light and too straightforward, which is fine, but it would be refreshing to see him dive into stories with more tension and moral complexity. I think that could really bring out a different side of his talent. Also, every time I see him, I think of Park Yoon Bin. I feel like they have similar tastes in drama genres, and I believe they'd mesh well together on screen. Next up is Yoona. I love her deeply and have genuinely enjoyed many of her roles over the years. She's incredibly charming and effortlessly engaging. Her work tends to lean towards light-hearted dramas, often romantic comedies with just enough emotional depth, sometimes with a sprinkle of mystery or thriller elements. I can't say I've ever had a real issue with the scripts she chooses. She clearly knows her strengths. She shines in roles where she plays the quote-unquote naive or clueless character, but what sets her apart is how she makes these roles feel authentic, warm, and endearing rather than one-dimensional. There is a genuine likability to her performances that always draws me in. That said, while many of her projects feature strong ensemble casts, I often find myself underwhelmed by the male leads she's paired up with. It's not that they're bad actors, quite the opposite. Most of them go on to find great success in thrillers, action, fantasy, or even horror. But as romantic leads, they often lack the warmth or chemistry needed to fully complement her charm. They simply don't have the romantic presence that matches hers. For instance, in My Secret Hotel, which I watched some time ago, none of the male leads stood out to me as strong romantic counterparts. Similarly, in The Spies Who Loved Me, which came out in 2020, I didn't connect with the male lead at all. Oddly enough, I actually preferred the second lead, even though he too lacked that special something needed to make the romantic pairing truly compelling. Despite this, I love every role she takes on. I just want to see her beside a male lead who truly complements her energy. It's not that it's never happened. Lee Dong-wook was a perfect match in Touch Your Heart, and Yoon Min was equally great in True to Love. I absolutely loved that drama in both of their performances. I've noticed that she tends to gravitate towards male leads who have a mature look, brooding, or mysterious types with a soft, kind center, men who are stable, grounded, and emotionally expressive. It's a type that makes sense for her given her taste, but the chemistry only truly clicks when the male lead is also strong in romantic storytelling. With that in mind, I'd love to see her paired with Lee Sung-gi. He would complement her effortlessly. He has the comedic timing, the brooding charm, and an approachable mystery to him that could play beautifully off her warmth. Another is Lee Joon-gi. I feel like he can manage to bring in the darker moments and she can bring in the lighter moments, and we meet at this beautiful middle where it feels so genuine. I think it would be so cute. And both men thrive in thrillers as well. I feel like it would be fun to see these three together. Also, I wouldn't mind Bang Sang-hun beside her. I also feel like these two have the same taste in dramas. Next on this list is Jung So Min. We all know her. She's an incredibly versatile actress. She can pull off comedy effortlessly, yet she's just as powerful in emotionally gut-wrenching dramatic roles. She brings maturity and depth to her characters, and while I haven't seen her play a villain yet, I have no doubt she could absolutely nail it. Whatever the role, name it, she can do it. It's honestly surprising that she remains underrated. She has a sharp eye for great scripts, and her dramas consistently deliver. I've loved so many of her roles, and her chemistry with co-stars is always a highlight for me. She truly deserves more recognition, and I wish her nothing but continued success and happiness in her career. And I share the same sentiment with Kim Hye Yoon. She had her breakout moment with Extraordinary You, and honestly, I expected her to be booked and busy after that. It was such a standout performance. She was incredible, but then she seemed to disappear for a while. Thankfully, she came back strong with Lovely Runner, another hit, and yet I still feel like we don't see her enough. I don't understand why she's underrated. I genuinely love everything about her dramas, from her choice of roles and scripts to the chemistry she shares with her co-stars. She deserves so much more recognition, and I truly believe there should be more respect put on her name. Next up is Lee Jun-young. Okay, this man is painfully underrated. He is also a very versatile actor. He can play light-hearted characters, more scary and thrilling characters, ambiguous and morally grey characters where he shows depth, tension, and subtle nuance. He is funny, charming, he can command the camera and is very adaptable, which is not that easy to do. I have enjoyed most of his roles. I find him really compelling, and I loved him most when he played morally grey characters. I enjoyed him in The Impossible Heir, which was not that good of a drama, but goodness, did I love his character. I would love to see him play this character again, but in a drama with better writing and a stronger female lead in terms of acting chops. If you haven't watched The Impossible Heir, his character was quite similar to the best friend in Marry My Husband. That's how I remember it, where you have a best friend who is in constant competition with you for some reason. That kind of male friendship dynamic is so rare on screen, and I found it fascinating at the time. He and Lee Jae-wook had incredible, fantastic palatable chemistry. And I'd love to see them share the screen again. They really brought out the best in each other. As a main lead, I'd love to see him take on more romantic dramas, which he does, but ones with complicated relationships, rivalries, betrayal, and a slightly darker tone. He thrives in emotionally charged, layered narratives, and for that reason, I wouldn't want to see him stuck in a typical office romance. He'd definitely do well, but he truly excels in roles that build tension and demand emotional complexity. The Impossible Heir was almost perfect for him. It's just, it needed stronger direction, tighter writing, and a more commanding female counterpart. Speaking of co-stars, while I believe he could work with just about anyone, I'd especially love to see him paired up with Han So-hee. She could match and enhance his intensity effortlessly. Another perfect match would be Kim Ji-won. She has a grounded, powerful presence that would complement him beautifully. Honestly, I'm really curious to see how these three would work together. There's a serious potential there. There's serious potential. Next up is Chae Jong Hyeop, Best Friends to Lovers. Best Friends to Lovers. This man has the potential to embody that trope perfectly. I genuinely believe he could be the very definition of yearning. His expressions, his timing, his emotional depth. He would also be incredible in a role centered around unrequited love. These are the kinds of stories I want to see him lead. While he does cold or stoic characters well, I don't think they suit his natural energy. To me, he comes across as grounded, approachable, and deeply relatable right from the start. When he's cast in colder roles, here I'm referring to Serendipity, there's often a slight energy mismatch, not in his performance, but in how the roles align with his presence. He's a versatile actor, no doubt, but one issue I've noticed is that the female leads opposite him don't always complement him as well as they could. Not because of the actress themselves, but because of how their characters are written. I want to see him alongside female leads who are emotionally complex, a bit gruff or edgy, those grumpy types with depth. That's where he shines the brightest for me. I'd love to see him work with Han So-hee again. Their chemistry, nevertheless, was undeniable, and I think they still have so much untapped potential together. Another great match would be Jung So Min. She has that rare ability to balance warmth with emotional intensity, which would bring out new sides of him. Also, I'd like to see him beside Ro Jong-hui. She's up and upcoming, but I think these two can do well together. Same with Kim Da-mi. Also, Yeri would be complementary. Like, there's a whole list. I can name actually a whole entire novel of female leads that can complement this man. Up next is Kim Jae-young. This man honestly frustrates me sometimes. He's clearly talented and he gravitates towards roles that are reflective and emotionally deep. He loves a bit of angst, and while I respect that, personally, I need him to take a flirty, cocky, hot devil type of role. I'm talking full-on banter, just slightly villainous. The kind of character who's a pain, but in the most charming way. A villain with a good heart, but still a villain. I mean, I find this man to have this tendency to be annoying. Unpopular opinion, I think. I'm sorry, but sometimes he comes off as annoying. And him being annoying, it's not like irritating, it's just that I need him to lean into that. But smile. The first impression he gives in most of his dramas is usually totally different from what his character ends up being. Maybe that's just me, but like in The Judge from Hell, the moment he showed up, I swore we were getting enemies to lovers energy. I thought he was going to be flirtatious, annoying in a fun way, constantly teasing the female lead, throwing out witty comebacks, and maybe even a wink or two. But no, we went a completely different direction. He has this smile, a smile that makes me think every time, you were born to play a character who hides pain behind charm. He would be perfect for roles where someone's hiding their depression behind a smile. That emotional duality, he could kill it. He already does closed off, nuanced characters well, but he rarely smiles in those roles, and I need him to smile. Like, I really need him to flirt like his life depends on it and smile. He's generally good at what he does, and I've enjoyed a lot of his heavier roles, but it'd be so nice to see him tap into that boyish charm more often. Also, let's talk about his eyes. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And his eyes are so expressive and perfect for slow burn, yawning, and emotionally complex roles with a side of flirty chaos. I need this guy to just basically take off a hot devil. I feel like we have not seen this character as often, despite the fact that this character is very popular. Like you'd expect to see this character everywhere, but the thing is, I don't. And I need him to take it because it's a role. There's a market. It's untapped. I need him to tap into it. And lastly on this list is Lee Sung Yi. He's a truly versatile actor, and I've enjoyed every single project he's been part of. He's dabbled in comedy and absolutely nailed it. He's done office romance, not always as the main lead, but his subplots were strong and memorable. He's tackled action as well, also a more grounded character. Overall, he's just amazing in every sense of the word. He has this natural charm and warmth that makes every character feel genuine. He brings emotional sincerity, depth, and sensitivity to his roles, and his chemistry with co-stars is consistently excellent. Whether it's romance, bromance, or family dynamics, he has this rare gift of elevating everyone he shares the screen with. I don't have an issue with the roles he's played so far, but I would love to see him grow even further. I think he would thrive in best friends to lovers storylines. He captures yawning so effortlessly. I'd also love to see him in tragic romances or as a warm but flawed anti-hero, someone who's charming on the outside but carries emotional scars underneath. There's something deeply charismatic about him, and I'd love to see him take on more layered roles. I especially enjoyed his performance in The Good Boy. Up to the 4th episode, I did not finish this drama, and I need more of that. He can act alongside anyone, but I'd love to see him continue in that emotional tone. Grounded, nuanced, and complex, but still lighthearted. That wraps up my list. Of course, there are many more actors worth mentioning, but I wanted to keep this video concise, more on the shorter end. While putting it together, I tried to be mindful not to take away from each actor's unique style. They all have distinct tastes in the roles they choose, and I believe it's entirely possible to respect their individuality while still blending in something new and exciting. I have assigned a lot of these actors similar type of roles, as I had mentioned before. I tend to want to see majority of them in more serious or darker roles, but when I say dark, I don't mean something as heavy or heartbreaking as Scarlet Heart or Queen Boo or Our Unwritten Souls, which I definitely recommend all these dramas. What I'm really looking for is something a bit lighter, still grounded with emotional depth, but with room for whimsy, humor, and fluff. To put it simply, I want to see them in romantic comedies, but with a slightly darker or more mature tone. Actually, that's the word I'm looking for, a mature tone, something that balances lightness and charm with emotional complexity, not overly tragic, apart from Lee Sung-yi, but not overly fluffy either. I hope that makes sense. K-dramas with this dynamic that do it for me are Queen of Tears, Because This Is My First Life, Flower of Evil, Her Private Life, Soundtrack #1, Alchemy of Souls, Extraordinary You, Love Next Door, which I know some people didn't love the tone switch mid-drama. Understandable. I was here for it. I loved it. It intensified the yawning and slow burn for me. But anyway, if you have made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Some of you may agree with me, some of you may not, and that's okay. I'd love to hear from you. Is there a K-drama actor or actress you feel is underrated and deserves more recognition? Let me know in the comments, along with the types of roles you'd like to see them in. Don't have a proper outro yet, but if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall catch you in the next one.